Good day, everybody. Thank you for waiting for the last session of today. If I am not wrong, not mistaken, it is the last session. Let me stay here not to block the beamer. I will talk about a very hot topic, the role of blockchain and the changes that are expected to occur in the world of banking. That's something which, of course, is very much talked about last years. New players are emerging. We are seeing many financial companies that are trying to enter financial market. We are seeing also banks trying to cope with that new approach. So I will talk today about it from the perspective of my organization. I am the cooperative manager of the Cooperative for Ethical Financing organization, which you will learn a little bit more about later. But this organization, which is setting up a new ethical bank in Croatia, so new fully licensed credit institution in Croatia. Before that, just very briefly, I worked in the Netherlands for 7 years as a consultant for big international banks like ING, ABN AMRO, Royal Bank of Scotland, etc. First as a software architect, later on as expert on risk management. If you look further back, my education, it has nothing to do with economic or IT at all. I'm by education physicist, so I had quite a diverse actually activities in the past. What is my organization that I am coming from? It's a Cooperative for Ethical Financing, the largest cooperative in Croatia at this moment, which exists 4 years. So we were founded in April 2014. If you look our 1,400 members, they are very diverse. You can have you have individuals in there, individual members. There are companies, there are universities. This one particularly, University of Split, is a member of a cooperative. There are municipalities, so very diverse group of organization, which all agreed that there is a need for new credit financial institution in Croatia, and were willing to support it with their memberships. If you look locations of our members, they are spread all over Croatia. There are also many abroad, usually expats, Croatian Croats that are living in other countries, but also foreigners who are involved in the whole banking industry, ethical banking industry, and foreigners that have some business relation with Croatia, which are willing to have this type of financial institution that we will talk about today. If you look at the internal structure of cooperative, cooperative is divided in 10 regions, so individual members are spread in 10 different regions in the country, and the business members that have some business activity, they are divided in 13 different sections. And if you look in which business they are, it's really diverse, from potato growers and farmers to a company which is registered for design and development of spaceships. Believe it or not, there is one like that in Croatia, in Technical Park in Zagreb. So they are really in all different kinds of businesses. And what they all want to achieve? They all want to achieve two main goals. One goal is to connect, to start collaborating with each other, because sharing of resources is something which is very efficient as a business model. I don't know actually how many of you know what is the cooperative. Because in Croatia there are many, okay? Some people are afraid to say, okay? Cooperative is, especially in Croatia, if you call it a zadruga, with Croatian word, that's something which we usually consider to be a thing from the past, from the socialism, very inefficient model, something which doesn't have any place in the modern times. And I was thinking the same when I was going to the Netherlands, I don't know, 12 years ago. I was thinking the same, and then I discovered cooperative by actually becoming a member of a bank. When I opened a bank account in a bank that was just across my street in Holland, in the Netherlands, I was not thinking about what type of bank is that until a few weeks later I got some letter, and then I was trying to translate it from Dutch language, and it turned out that they are inviting me to some assembly and that I'm supposed to vote, and I don't know, I was quite scared. What did I wrong? Why they are now not charging me just a fee and asking me to, I don't know, say something. And it turned out that by just filling in those forms and paying some 50 euros, which I was thinking is just the normal fee for, I don't know, opening account, I have actually become the member of cooperative, and I am co-owner of the bank together with some other 2 million people that were also customers of a bank. And to me it was the first trigger to start thinking about it, and then I found out that many of people that I'm meeting in my professional life, consultants, architects, software developers, are also members of cooperatives, because they just found out that cooperative is a very efficient way of doing business. Literally saying, if you have 10 farmers that have 10 tractors and 100% of cost of each of them and 10% of utilization of each of them, that it is much less efficient than if they just share one and have 100% of utilization and 10% of cost. And the main idea about all cooperatives in the world is just the same: how to share common costs, how to make business process more efficient, and how to do it in a way which is keeping the created value among members. And that's what is then the reason, one of the major topics of our cooperative, major goals, to actually teach people and members to work together. When you have any kind of idea or a project, or you need some resource, then first you look among other cooperative members if they are offering it, to keep all these money flows and cash flows and value within the cooperative. That's one, of course, goal, and the another goal is to join, then when we build trust and we join our resources together, then to go and create our own credit institution that would then use our own funds, our own resources for financing of our projects. If you look why ethical, ethical is related, why ethical bank, not just a normal bank, it is related to values, how we want to achieve that. We want to focus on, for example, in construction, there are some examples to use of natural materials. We are favoring local economy because we think it is more sustainable. If you look totality of the cost, so not only financial cost but environmental and social cost. We want to use recycled resources. We are favoring tailor-made production against the mass production, which is some kind of the dogma that it is more efficient because of the economies of scale, but it stops being more efficient if you look all hidden costs that are involved in the whole process. The ethical is about the approach of the type of the economy that we want to develop with our resources together. If you look at the main elements of the business models, the initial capital of the bank that we are gathering among our members, you have seen probably there are 2.5 billions of revenues among members, that we want to use 150 million kunas for the initial capital of the bank, to keep interest rates low, to focus on the credit to production. If you look at the structure of credit in current banks in Croatia, around 70% is of loans are given to people as individual consumer loans and not as loans that are creating new added value. We would like to actually replace that with a credit policy which is favoring creation of new value. Now I'm not going through the whole business model because it is a blockchain conference, so let's go forward about the core topic today. If we look how we want to achieve it, we have a luxury because we are starting from scratch. So we don't have legacy. If you look legacy, what is legacy? Legacies are all those IT systems and inefficient databases that were accumulated in different classical financial institutions tens of years after they started the informatization of their processes. And today, if you want to change anything in the current regulatory framework and you want to modify in the systems of existing banks, it's extremely incredibly expensive. Just one example that I met in Holland. I was working as a consultant for a big international bank, and I was responsible to determine what would be the cost of transforming all their systems that they have worldwide to accept IBAN, international banking number, instead of local banking numbers. And it turned out that it is a cost of around between $300 and $500 million because there were like over 100 systems that needed to be replaced. Some of those were built in 70s and 80s. So if you just look at the cost, the tremendous cost of such simple change, it's something which is really, really huge problems that banks today face. That is the reason why we decided to fight regulatory costs and to get some competitive advantage against our competitors by being able to start from scratch and use the newest possible technology that is available at the market and that is available to be developed, because we are also developing a lot of things internally. So if you look at the context of it, the changes that are happening in the banking sector right now, banks are really starting losing their monopoly over the whole range of functions. Today, if you would be willing to make money transfer from one country to another or from one continent to another, and you are aware of all possibilities that are on your disposal, you wouldn't probably go to a bank, because if you want to transfer it from Croatia to US or other way around, it would take days, huge fees, which would be at least 1% or more of the amount, and it would be just something that you won't use if you know that at the same time you can use guys like TransferWise, PayPal, or I don't know, some even less known but more advantageous players at the moment. Also at the same time, you see huge demand of the decentralization of power, that people started taking power over their own funds in their own hands. So the whole boom of crowdfunding platforms, peer-to-peer lending platforms, all kinds of networks that are not dependent on the banks anymore, is just a sign that people want to have more control over their own resources, and they don't want to have intermediaries, and especially not non-transparent intermediaries in the whole process. So the new players in the sector are not banks anymore. Those are companies that are offering services which are very similar to banking services, but more user-friendly, quicker, more reliable, and more transparent than the classical banking can offer. And of course, the rediscovered importance, if we look what is happening in that move towards decentralization, is creation of new mechanisms like complementary currencies, local currencies, people that are preferring and started their own different value chain local productions in food industry, in energy industry. So all this approach is actually changing the banking sector and the financial sector from the very bottom of it. Innovations that we are using in our approach is use of IT and fintech to minimize costs. So one example of that was that our main requirement in the design of the software was that all regulatory reports that we need to publish need to be created automatically without any human or Excel intervention in it. That we want to see what is the need of people, so what are desires of our members and customers. So most of the classical financial intermediaries, the financial players, they see crowdfunding as some kind of the competitor which is which is entering the market, but we see crowdfunding as something that we need to offer as our own service. Actually, if people want to manage their own funds, then our role as a bank, as an institution that has its member that is fully owned by its customers. I haven't said that before, that one of the major criteria of bank to be ethical is that it is fully owned by its own customers. Then we need to offer it as a service to our customers, and even more actually, we are not there to focus on the IT or I don't know, to the things in which people would invest their money, but we are there more to be the party of trust that has some services like risk analysis and different types of analysis that are increasing the security of the whole process, and not actually being one who is directing it toward deciding where money would go. Predictive risk management is something that we are doing. So basically what we are doing, we are developing a lot of different types of software that is helping us to be not only financial institution, but more to be information provider and trust provider to our members and our customers. So if you look to the technologies, electronic wallet, that's basically the whole replacement of the classical account and internet banking and mobile banking systems. So we have developed a wallet which can contain any kind of fiat, crypto, or a new local created currency. Crowdfunding as a platform which is then integrated in the whole banking process, where we see ourselves as a bank who is aggregator of the projects. People are coming to us with projects that need to be financed. We do everything that is the role of the bank. We do risk analysis, profile of people of the projects, and when we are satisfied and we are ready to invest into project, then before we invest into it, we offer that all our members can invest through crowdfunding platform in some quasi-equity model to the project. So basically you can, anybody who is member of Ethical Bank can become a member or a co-owner, even in some small percentage of, I don't know, wind farm or agricultural project or touristic project, or maybe in the future Rimac cars or something like that. Bank as a service, so we are designing everything to be the set of services with the open API, so that it could be easily integrated and replicated and connected with any other provider that is offering services. We have support for complementary currencies, so not only Bitcoin and the classical currencies, but also for the whole process of facilitation of complementary currencies that could be designed for some specific focus on purpose in the local environment. For example, University of Split, actually the dean of the faculty of Split was discussing with us opportunity to create a local currency for the students at the university that would have some special purposes for it. And everything that we are developing, we are looking from the perspective where we want to use distributed ledger technologies, at the moment blockchain, but maybe in the future some of the alternative, more efficient distributed ledger technologies to facilitate the whole process. So if you just look at the main criteria of technology design of everything that we want to offer through a bank, is that it needs to be cloud-based, legacy-free, with the connection of API microservices, with non-relation databases wherever applicable, to have more flexibility in changing information and the types of information that we are collecting. And currently we have a global development team which is using all open source technologies and developing on a weekly basis new iterations of the platform. So I'm not going too much into the technical stuff, but the core design actually is something that you can discuss with me later on, but maybe just on the use cases that we are developing right now. So one is the electronic wallet, which we will be launching among cooperative members during the May, so within the next month. It is already in the pilot phase testing. Then there is also pilot that our technological partner from South America is currently piloting in Colombia, where they have developed the first South American real-time clearing system for banks, a blockchain-based clearing system for 28 Colombian banks. And that's something that actually we see as a great alternative to many centralized operations, like in Croatia we have FINA. FINA is a centralized transaction provider for Croatia, and it is not working real time. So if you want to do transaction from bank to bank, then you have a few times in the day when they are actually making clearing, and if you don't get the last one, then the transaction is done the next day. So this one is in the real time. And we think that whole this approach towards the decentralization is basically something which is very much in accordance with values of the cooperative, because cooperatives as organizations are decentralized organizations that are working on a one member, one vote principles, that are flexible in their internal structure design, where you see that actually all members are allowed to participate in the processes, where they demand transparency in the processes. And if you translate it to banking, then it comes to the question, if we as a bank are using funds of our members in a way which is transparent, which is financially sustainable, so earning more than it is spent, which is good for the environment and good for the society, why would we be hiding it? Why wouldn't we just be transparent about it, publish it, and with that create additional trust for people to entrust money in the system where they participate, and they can decide about what is going to be financed with their funds and what is not going. I will leave some time for questions, because I suppose that I have covered a quite wide range of topics, from the banking, from the cooperatives to the technology things. So maybe just to use this last 5 minutes or so to see if there are questions on which we can focus more deeply. I think the first hand was there, and then... Okay, so we'll come later on. Yeah. No, okay. Ladies first.
Thank you, very nice to meet you. I have a question. What is the attitude of Ethical Bank towards crypto exchange? For instance, there is one small bank in Lithuania called Mr. Tango, and besides having SEPA and SWIFT payments, they also offer that the bank creates the Bitcoin wallet, and you immediately, like maybe it's like unlike other crypto exchanges, you get your money instantly, almost within 60 seconds, 120 seconds.
Yeah, I know for the case, and that's something that we would like also to offer as a service immediately from our side. Basically, everything which is allowed in the current legislation and could be shown that is satisfying the banking rules, which are mostly tied to the KYC, so know your customer, and money laundering prevention. From that perspective, we of course need to do all checks to offer our services to anybody, but looking technology-wise, that's exactly the approach that we would like to take, to immediately allow integration with partner organizations that are maybe even than crypto exchanges, and to have from the user interface perspective and in the quality and performance of transactions perspective, completely mingled and put on the very same level the fiat money transactions with any kind of the crypto transactions.
Then we would like an account, please.
First, we need to get the license. So after that, at this moment, you can become member if you go to this website of the www.ebanka.eu. You will learn more about the cooperative, the phase that we are right now. We have, of course, struggles to get the bank license because in Croatia, not going into details about the whole process, it is not very easy, and for the last 20 years not single license was issued, but we are confident that this year we will resolve it all problems that we had there and start with offering the real full banking services. And until then we will offer all services that are possible, like internal cooperative payments, electronic wallet, connection with APIs to different transaction providers in order to start offering services that are possible without banking license, and upgrading it to the full banking services most likely by the end of the year.
Well, thanks for your presentation. I have two questions. The first one, are you using Ethereum network for your software solution? After that, I would like to know if you are planning to create some kind of system to allow payments through the blockchain.
Yes, looking at the software solution, it is a long story about it. It has started as a set of different solutions. So at the moment, in the beginning, we as a cooperative, we were focusing to transaction systems and reporting systems that we need to have as a bank. So that was our primary focus. But the speed, how we started doing things more quickly, was accelerated in the summer last year when we met several of our technological partners. One of them is Colombian-based, but it's one of the most active fintech companies in South America and North America, called Minka. They are developing a lot of services that are related to wallets, transactions, different payment channels like chatbot payments, contactless card payments, integration with classical card services. So they are very much in that business. And we also established partnerships with some of the local partners, like Electrocoin as a company which is our member and that is offering crypto fiat conversion services, and a company called WebTech, which is our member, which is offering payment processing services. So now it really evolved in the full-fledged financial platform that would be really able to provide any kind of service from the banking to the loan giving, risk management, reporting, payment services, transaction. But it is not really one platform that was made from the design, but the set of the platforms that was transformed in a set of microservices that are coordinated and developed and integrated with the joint team that is then going to be available for our bank. But we have plans also to work together with our partners in other countries to create a network of banks that are sharing the very same platform in order to increase the robustness of the whole concept and of course availability to other countries, because we don't want to be a big organization which is working all over the world, but we want to have the huge network of sister organizations that are sharing the cost, that have local knowledge in order to also have low risk investments in local projects, but are using and sharing the very same platform. So that's basically, if you need more information, I can share it with you, of course. And the second question was about...
Are you planning to create a system to allow fiat payments through the blockchain?
Yes. So with this, just a combination of having the possibility of currency exchange, fiat, crypto at the moment integrated in the whole process, we can basically offer you any kind of payment by using also your crypto funds, because they are integrated in the same wallet. Thank you.